William Ruto has been sworn in as Kenya's president after narrowly winning last month's elections. The ceremony was held a week after the Supreme Court upheld his victory. His political rival, Raila Odinga, had challenged the result. Mr. Ruto replaces Uhuru Kenyatta, under whom he served as deputy since 2013. Tens of thousands of people packed the Kasarani Nairobi Stadium for the inauguration. But defeated candidate Raila Odinga didn't attend. He said he has serious concerns about his opponent's victory. Mr. Ruto hailed this win as a moment like no other, adding that the village boy had become president.
In this process, we have demonstrated the maturity of our democracy, the robustness of our institutions, and the resilience of the Kenyan people. By far, the largest winners of this election is the people of Kenya. We have done well as a nation. We have blazed the trail in an increasingly challenging environment where democracy is consistently on trial. Special recognition goes to my worthy competitor and friend, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and his running mate, the Honorable Martha Wangari Karua, and all the other candidates who mounted a vigorous and determined campaign. I assure them that their supporters will be my constituents. I will work with all Kenyans, irrespective of who they voted for.
And Nigeria's Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, was at the inauguration. He was representing President Buhari. He described Ruto's inauguration and election as a celebration of democracy and democratic institutions in Africa. He also stressed the importance of strong institutions, such as the electoral body and the judiciary, as undergird for democracy and the rule of law. A lot to talk about, Sundu, this morning.
Yeah, we reported that yesterday live, didn't we? Those are really nice, happy scenes from Kenya, and Raila Odinga, like you just read, did not show up, as is his right. It cannot be easy. There can only be one winner, unfortunately. But William Ruto, the 5th president of Kenya, struck a really unifying note there in his speech, trying to bring everybody together after what was a really ugly campaign period at times, and, you know, fiercely fought electoral battle. But the really important thing is the credit being given to the IEBC and the Kenyan judiciary for the part that they played. And it is hoped that we are listening with rapt attention to that here in Nigeria, INEC in particular, and then our courts and our politicians are putting the people first. Raila Odinga voted with his feet to stay away from the inauguration, but he resisted the urge, thankfully, to rile his supporters into violence. That has to be stressed. There can only be one winner, and this is the kind of maturity that we hope to see come next year after our general elections.
Dr. Bati?
Okay, congratulations to President Samoei Ruto, now the 5th president of Kenya. The 4th administration in Kenya has ended, the 5th administration has begun. He is the 2nd Kalenjin to become president of Kenya, after Daniel Arap Moi. Daniel is also the 1st deputy president, you know, to ascend to the position of president via election. Daniel Arap Moi was vice president to Kenyatta, but Kenyatta died and then he became president. But in this particular case, despite the efforts by the incumbent president, Uhuru Kenyatta, Jomo Kenyatta's son, to stop him, he acceded to that position. And that in itself is the beauty of democracy. His choice is clearly a reflection of the determination of the people of Kenya to make their own choice, to vote as they wish. And it is important that what was celebrated yesterday was not just that ritual of succession, it was the, the celebration of the fact that the will of the people prevailed in the Republic of Kenya. Also, again, he's the 1st evangelical Christian president in the history of Kenya. He prays the Lord, he holds vigils and all of that. And so for people who are religiously minded, they will say, well, Deputy Jesus, as he is otherwise known, has emerged as president of the Republic of Kenya. Okay, Deputy Jesus, nice phrase, nice appellation. Will he save the people of Kenya? Because Kenya faces a lot of challenges, economic, political, social stability issues. He has promised a bottom-up approach in handling the economy. He says he's not going to subject Kenya to the sovereignty of China because of the debt obligations that Kenya owes to China. Will he be able to do it? So beyond the ceremony yesterday and the pomp, the pageantry, the work has started. And everyone will be looking up to William Ruto, who advertises himself, who insists that, look, he's an embodiment of the fact that a child of the poor, of a roadside seller, hawker, can rise to the highest position in Kenya and can achieve his dreams. I think that subtext is very important, and I hope that he will rule, or he will reign, or he will lead, which is the proper word to use, as someone who will become a source of inspiration for the majority of Kenyans. The issues that he has to address are already well laid out. High inflation, poverty, deprivation, heavy debt stock, and all of that. Well, our Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, represented his boss, President Muhammadu Buhari, at the occasion. He was accompanied by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and a special advisor, on political matters, Babafemi Ujudu. And it was there, but I've seen some reactions on the internet saying that, our Vice President was seated at the back and all of that. Well, people should not make any heavy weather out of that. The protocol simply says that, the heads of state, they take precedence. The heads of state sit in front. The Vice President, who attend events like this, are positioned right behind the heads of states, the presidents. There's a ranking order in diplomacy. So that is not an issue. The people who are losing, a nerve over that on Twitter, they don't understand what international protocol is. However, we should stress the point that it was good that President Yemi Osinbajo represented Nigeria. Nigeria and Kenya have very strong diplomatic relations. Beyond being, former colonies of the British, both countries share a lot in terms of trade and also agriculture. Although, maybe I shouldn't say this. I think that we tend to be kinder to the Kenyans, than they are to us. But that's another story altogether.
A lot has been said. Congrats to the person that got in, President William Samoei Ruto. And I felt it was very uncharitable what Raila Odinga did do. I think at least he should have attended. In fact, I saw a tweet yesterday by Martha Karua, as vice presidential candidate. I showed a picture of herself at the golf course and say, what a great day I've had. So she was not there herself. She was probably somewhere playing golf and all of that. Because I feel to a large extent that if we want to truly build Africa, we must build an Africa without animosity. You've lost an election. The Supreme Court has said you've lost an election. There is no coming back from it. You are an elderly man. You're the father of a nation, 77-year-old man. What legacy are you going to leave for young Kenyans? That you didn't attend the inauguration of the person that beat you in an election? Is that it? And you want to consolidate your country? Is that it? This is after you have tried about 5 times? You feel bitter. Everybody has a right to feel bitter after losing an election. But what's the big deal in attending inauguration? What's the big deal? This is a country that is heavily divided and polarized along lines. You touted yourself as also an ethnic candidate. You played the lower card. We all remember what happened in the last elections. When you went against Mwai Kibaki in 2007, that resulted in violence. We all played the religion card. We played the ethnic card. And this is what the last thing people remember about you. Because I don't see any coming back. I don't know what the future might hold for him. If he might still vie for, presidency in the next election. But at the age of 77, I mean, Kenya is quite a very young country. So I felt they should have done better, but they'll sort out their problems. And if you remember, this was how he went out with Uhuru Kenyatta before they had that prayer breakfast and they, mended fences. So maybe Raila Odinga will come around at some point, but I don't think it's a good sin. Secondly, Kenya has a lot of problems. William Samoei Ruto campaigned heavily on something called the hustler nation, and it is indeed a hustler nation. A country that has a lot of potential, but quite very small economy, less than 100 billion US dollars. GDP per capita, 1,800, quite low. A lot of people are not getting their fair share. Those are the hustler nation in Kenya. He's talked about a lot of subsidies to help them. Let's see how that pans out. They've talked about great agricultural potential. For a population of 53 million people, Kenya is about a little over 500,000 square kilometers of land. So they've got some, real agricultural land that they can exploit and do great things with as regards to the economy. They've got some export in agriculture, flowers and the likes. Let's see how that potential driving. Let's see how he's able to execute that his hustler plan, to be able to help his nation. But the problems really in Kenya will be lifting that middle ground out of poverty, those hustlers, because there are quite a lot of them in rural areas. And that's going to be the next challenge over the 5 years. And if he doesn't do well, trust me, the Kenya people too will tell him he's not doing well in the polls and on the streets of Mombasa, Nakuru, and probably Nairobi. Nigeria's electoral body, INEC, says it has delisted 1.1 million people out of the 2.5 million fresh registrants that enrolled between June 28, 2021 and January 14, 2022. The commission says it did that because their records were found to be invalid. INEC also says that it has discovered several double, multiple, and ineligible registrants while cleaning up the voters' register using automated biometric identification system. The electoral body, assuring the public, said only valid registrants will be added to the existing national register or will be published nationwide for scrutiny.
Right from beginning, right from day one, we made it very, very clear that the continuous voters registration exercise that the Commission was embarking upon was for new registrants. In other words, it was for people who have never registered before and people who turned 18 from the last registration exercise. But as we moved towards the registration period, there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation. Some people claim that the permanent voters cards issued before 2011 had expired and that all the holders of the PVC need to register afresh, and people surged to go and register. Then there were also people who lost their PVCs or people whose PVCs were damaged. We asked them to only report their lost and damaged PVCs so that we can issue new ones. But some of them went and registered afresh. And then there were also those who wanted to do transfer. Rather than do transfer, they sought to register afresh. And then there were people who thought that we didn't have the mechanism and the power and the resources and the technology to discover multiple and double registration. So we carried out robust civic and voter education to get our people to do the right thing. But there were some people who chose to do the wrong thing. And there were also some people who acted out of ignorance and misinformation and disinformation. The Commission uses what we call the ABIS, that is the Automated Biometric Identification System, which identifies fingerprints and also identifies facials. This is what we use in removing multiple and double registrants. And then for other pernicious registrations, we do what we call manual adjudication to remove people who are visibly underage and also people who got into the register through other dubious means. Now, we have the technology and we have the capacity to detect multiple and double registrants at the point of registration using our INEC voter enrollment device. But we made a determination not to enable the device because it will take some time searching through the database of 84 million registered voters, and that will keep so many people on the queue for too long. So we decided not to enable it at the point of registration in order to speed up the registration. So we enabled it at the point after registration, at the point of cleaning up the voters register. And that's exactly what we are doing at the moment. Well, in terms of the registration, we went into the 2019 election with a total registered voter population of over 84 million. Now, when we stopped the CVR on the 31st day of July 2022, 12,298,944 have completed their registrations. But these registrations are going through the cleanup process using the ABIS. Now, Section 19, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022 obligates the Commission to publish the voters register for claims and objections. And the moment we complete the cleanup exercise, which we are almost done with, we will display the register of voters in the 774 local government areas of Nigeria and in the 8,809 registration areas in the country for claims and objections.
All right, Tundu.
Well, this public sensitization by INEC is extremely important, and it's good that it's been done, and we need to hear it. It's unfortunate, as Festus Okoye just said, the kind of misinformation that occurred, which led to people registering multiple times, even after they were warned not to do so, and they've now been delisted. That's really, truly unfortunate. And that just goes to, well, you just alluded to people talking complete rot on Twitter, and just having to be careful, really, where you get your information from. A lot of people are completely ignorant and just spouting utter nonsense, and you end up misleading people. But, you know, we've come a long way in Nigeria. I remember the 2007 elections when we had names like Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston on our voters register. I hope those days, those dark days, will never reoccur. Obviously, we still have some way to go before we perfect our system, but I'm glad to see progress. Wherever we see it, we should commend it.
Okay. A credible electoral register is very central to the integrity of the entire electoral process. If you do not have a credible electoral register, then of course the integrity of the electoral process is compromised. Now we're being told that between 2021 and 2022, the effort to update the electoral register had about 2.5 new registrants, and out of all of that, 1.1, registrants were invalid because of double, multiple, or invalid registration. And INEC, yes, this is procedural, I think, had made it clear that it will review the register, clean it up, make sure it has a credible voters register before the election. And what you have been told now is that that exercise, having been conducted, has created a situation whereby 1.1 persons have been found to have violated the process. I think at the level of transparency, disclosure, accountability, INEC is doing very well. The second point has to do with the disclosure by Dr. Festus Okoye that by October, November, this register will be made available to the public. No, okay, I mix it up. The disclosure that this register will not only be made available to the public for scrutiny, so that people who have registered can look at it. Also, efforts will be made to ensure that those who have registered get their voters' cards, what is called the PVC, by October, November. Previously, we have been told by officials of INEC, specifically, the INEC commissioner in charge of the Federal Capital Territory, who said that, look, the continuous voters registration exercise could lead us to a situation whereby persons may not even get their voters' cards before February, the commencement of the elections on February 28. But now we are told that by October, November, these voters' cards will be available for new registrants. That, I think, is comforting. That, I think, is a good development. It's good information. But beyond all of this, beyond procedure, INEC's primary responsibility is to ensure that they cross all the T's, they dot all the I's, and deliver in performance in a regular cycle election in 774 local governments, in over 179,000 polling, over thousands of polling booths across the country, and over 179,000 polling units, that they deliver credible elections that Nigerians can be proud of, and out of which Nigerians can reach the Kenya moment, which was indeed a historic moment for Kenyans and also for Africans. You know, that, yeah, we have had a successful transition in Kenya, and that we too, here in Nigeria, would be able to have a successful transition again in the course of this return to democracy in 1999. Raila Odinga may have refused to attend the event yesterday, but I think that's completely immaterial.
Of course it
No
is.
individual is bigger than the Supreme Court, the apex court of the land, or the people of the country. I would like to see a situation also in 2023, whereby there will be no individual that will impose himself on the will of the Nigerian people. And INEC is very strategic to that, and President Muhammadu Buhari has a personal responsibility to ensure that that is done, that that is achieved, and that Nigerians are able also to speak boldly and confidently in 2023 that we have arrived at another important moment in our journey.
And it has to be said that is dependent on what INEC will do and how INEC will execute this process. And that's why we're excited about this full disclosure. Now that 1 million people that registered, more than once have been removed from the system, because we need a clean electoral register. But also INEC should go further as regards the integrity of this register. It must be duly protected. Secondly, what INEC should also do is to firm up other processes. Firm up other processes, make it easier to report incidents on election day. Also prosecute those that perpetrate vote buying. And also help greatly with working with civil society to ensure that we have a clearer process. If we have elections where money bags cannot come and snatch things, then the will of the people will be truly done. But is that the case in our elections in Nigeria? No. And we all know how this happened. People that perpetrate all sorts of election fraud have not been dealt with. What is even the integrity of our portal? I was happy too that they had full disclosure about the fact that there were attempts to hack. Have they been able to bolster the portal? I imagine they are doing that already. Because those are the things that truly make people excited about the process. And the indication that people are coming out to register, you can also put that side by side with the signing of the electoral law. And let's give commendation to who deserves commendation here. President Muhammadu Buhari for signing the electoral law. Because we have new laws now that has put technology and electronic forms of transmission in our processing and made our process better in such a way that people actually look forward to it. But it has to be said, money will play a big role. How the people will stand up against that in 2023 will matter a great deal. The authorities, security officials will play a big role. What will happen as regards that? Will the officials be neutral? And will every other stakeholders in the electoral process truly start for the integrity of the electoral process? That's what will matter a great deal. And if you truly give Nigerians a fair election, they wouldn't challenge it in court. Sundu, has anybody challenged the accuracy of June 12, 1993 elections?
No, actually.
Because Nigerians saw that the process was fair.
Actually.
And they saw a clear winner in June 12, 1993 elections. But we've also had subsequent elections in this country that the president, after he himself was elected, had the heart of God for him to come out to say that I know the elections that brought me to power were fraught with irregularities. President Umar Musa Yar'Adua of blessed memory is a rare Nigerian. How many actually can win elections and come out to say that?
But it's not Nigerians that challenge the elections, it's the politicians, which goes back to your earlier point of expecting, some kind of angelic equanimity from somebody who just lost an election.
No, why I said that for Raila Odinga
He's human.
is human. Why I said that for Raila Odinga is he's also an elder statesman that he put in high place in Kenyan society.
Theirs is
That's
very
true.
fast. He hasn't
Anyway.
healed. He's probably grieving.
At some point he will heal, and I'm sure he will come around, just like he did with Kenyatta.
Yeah, what's important is that there was no violence. He
Yeah.
didn't rile people to go anywhere.